Hey everybody, it's Magic Prepper, and this is not a live stream, this is just a video format, but I wanted to present it in this way to share the information as best I could about what's happening right now between Iran and Israel. And this is a extremely escalatory conflict that's unfolding over there, which is why we should be paying attention to it. And there's some excellent live streamers who are live right now that I didn't want to interrupt by going live myself. So make sure you're getting the information you need, but I want this quick update to help you in case you don't have time to wait for that info to come through the live streams that are out there or to sift through whatever information has already been shared. Now, of course, Midway USA is the biggest supporter of the channel. Thanks to them, I can get information like this out to you, and of course, they can provide you with what you might need when it comes to being better prepared. So big thanks to Midway USA. Now, this is the imagery that people in Israel are seeing right now when it comes to missiles entering their airspace, being shot down through different defense measures and everything else that they have in place there right now. And I wanted to share this imagery to kind of give you an idea as to what it really looks like right now in a modernized country to have missiles barraging from above while you're out to eat or at a gas station or whatever else it might be. And it's something you at least should just consider in the sense of how this looks and how it probably feels for those who are on the ground, and that maybe just because you live somewhere more modernized doesn't mean you're fully insulated from this type of activity in the future. So it's something that I think is jarring, but also necessary for us to anticipate as a possibility at some point. Okay, so now you've got this imagery, you've seen what's happening there. Hundreds of drones as well as ballistic missiles and possibly cruise missiles have been fired at Israel from Iranian soil, which is actually even more escalatory than what has been happening with proxy groups via Lebanon and other areas where we have Hezbollah, or we have these other groups like Hamas, of course, and everyone else in the region that is usually at fault when it comes to these attacks. But right now, let me go ahead and pull this up for you. We have Iran attacking from their soil. Now, this is from Al Jazeera, and basically they're giving you live updates. Blast sirens heard across Israel as Iranian missiles and drones are intercepted. Of course, the US and the UK are intercepting a lot of these drones before they enter Israeli airspace. And right now, Israel is telling Israeli civilians that they no longer need to stay near bomb shelters because there's a concept that this attack is over at this point in time for the time being. But there's been a lot of reports that a secondary wave of missiles is expected, and it takes hours for these things to reach their targets. And as you see here with Iran launches air attack on Israel with drones hours away, we don't know how many waves and how long this attack could go on for. So this is something to keep in mind. Of course, Israel right now is in conversations with the US as well as other allies in order to establish what their retaliation might look like. So this is from the Times of Israel. The IDF lifts order for Israelis to stay near safe rooms, indicating Iran attack over for now. But like I said, there is a lot of expectation that more waves are currently on the wave. Okay? And Iran fires drones, missiles at Israel in first ever direct attack. IDF says most have been downed. There are reports that a base in Israel has actually been damaged, as well as other missiles and drones hitting their targets because they are oversaturating the defensive systems and the Iron Dome of Israel by sending as many as they are, in the sense of hundreds of missiles and drones, which is a lot, right? So moving on from there, just to kind of give you the U.S. perspective, one that most of you probably don't generally agree with, but it's something that it's at least worth sharing because it's from CNN, which we know is sort of a news organization. But vast majority of Iranian barrage shot down, Israeli officials say. The defenses have intercepted strikes from Iran. Explosions in the sky were seen in multiple parts of Israel and the West Bank. And some of these missiles and drones were actually targeting the city of Jerusalem, which obviously has further escalatory implications, especially when it comes to the religious aspect as to what happens in that region, okay? And I'm just showing this to you so you can get a broad sense as to what the media is reporting on, what's being put out there right now, the information that we have to work with. Okay, so moving over to NBC News, what they're talking about right now is the fact that the U.S. is concerned about how Israel's response will lead to additional fallout in the region. There's a concern among top U.S. officials that Israel could do something quickly in response to Iran's attacks without thinking through potential fallout afterward, according to a senior administration official and a senior defense official. Those concerns stem in part from the administration's views of the approach Israel has taken to its war against Hamas, as well as the attack in Damascus. Now, keep this in mind. Israel is currently under attack as we speak, and there's likely other waves of missiles and drones and everything else on their way right now to attack their territory. So I don't know if you expect them to wait around to make a decision or whatever it is, but that's the U.S.'s concern apparently right this second, which, obviously it's a concern for everybody because, well, there is a lot at stake here. Now, this is from the Times of Israel reporting on the strike actually causing damage to an IDF military base. Now, they say slight damage. I believe Iran has already come out and said that it has been very successful. So we're going to get different sides of the story from different factions, of course, but that's just how these things always work out. IDF spokesman Rear Admiral Daniel Hugari says Iran launched dozens of ballistic missiles at Israel, causing slight damage to a military base. He says most of the missiles were intercepted by the long-range Arrow air defense system. The missiles were mostly down outside of Israeli airspace. He says one strike led to the injury of a young girl in Negev, and additional impacts caused slight damage to infrastructure at a military base in southern Israel, Hugari says. The girl, according to medics, was hurt by shrapnel following an interception. Now, that is what's being reported by Israel. Like I said, Iran has something a little bit different in the way that they're explaining how much damage has been done, but this is expected during these times of war and the fog of war that is being cast over any reporting that we're getting out of the region. This is something you should be concerned about. This is something that would be problematic based on what's happening there right now. Israel threatens direct strike in Iran's territory if attacks from owned soil. This is from a few days ago, or 3 days ago to be precise. Okay, so this is from April 10th, and this is why this situation is inflammatory and at high risk of escalation to a much larger conflict, because we already had these threats, and Israel's not the only one making threats based on actions that are currently happening right now, and I wanted to remind you of this, okay? So, Israel's Foreign Minister Israel Katz issued a stern warning on Wednesday, threatening direct strikes on Iran if the Islamic Republic were to launch an attack from its territory against Israel. The statement comes amidst escalating tensions between the two nations, triggered by the recent killings of Iranian generals in a blast at the Iranian consulate in Syria earlier this month. Okay? He says Katz's declaration, posted on X in both Farsi and Hebrew, underscores the seriousness of the situation. If Iran attacks from its territory, Israel will respond and attack in Iran, he stated unequivocally. So we know that Iran attacked Israel from their territory, from their soil, and what this person said, Israel's foreign minister, is that if that happens, which it has now happened, they will respond by attacking in Iran, on Iranian soil. So, this is not the same as fighting proxy units in Syria or in Yemen or in Lebanon, all right? Now, Iran says something similar. And this is also dragging the U.S. into the situation because of this part of the conversation. This is from Axios. Iran warns U.S. to stay out of fight with Israel or face attack on troops. Okay? This is from yesterday, so be aware of that. Iran sent a message to the Biden administration through several Arab countries earlier this week. If the U.S. gets involved in the fighting between Israel and Iran, U.S. forces in the region will be attacked, three U.S. officials told Axios. Obviously, we're going to get involved. Obviously, there's fighting between Israel and Iran. And Iran has already said they will attack U.S. forces in the region if that's what happens, and that is what's happening right now. You should be aware of this, and you should understand that. I don't think they are bluffing. Now, we also have what's happening right now and Iran's response to it. Iran warns U.S. not to respond. This is from the Jerusalem Post. Says next attack on Israel will be more severe. Biden has been clear the United States will stand with the people of Israel and support their defense against these threats from Iran, U.S. National Security Council spokeswoman stated. Iran warned the United States not to respond to its attack on Israel as the confrontation between the two arch foes spilled over into the region, and U.S. President Joe Biden held consultations in Washington. This is a conflict between Iran and the rogue Israeli regime from which the U.S. must stay away, Iran's mission to the UN in New York stated in a post on X early Sunday morning. It justified its launch of a drone and missile attack on Israel as an act of self-defense permissible under Article 51 of the UN Charter. So, currently, that's where we stand. Obviously, things can change very quickly based on any escalations or further updates, but this is the information I have access to now. This is what I wanted to share with you right now, and if anything else happens that's pertinent or relevant or even more concerning, I will do my best to give you an update. But like I said, I didn't want to go live and have to try to get in on the information while there's other good live streamers out there right now who are providing that information. But if you didn't have an hour to go through that live stream in order to get all of the information or even to find out exactly where we stand right now, hopefully this video helped you out. Anything else you need from me, go to magicprepper.com. And besides that, that's going to be it for Magic Prepper.